Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider. On behalf of Colwas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speakers who are going to talk about expectations of a PhD supervisor. Most of the time, we know expectation from students. Now, it will be interesting to see the flip side of it. That what does PhD supervisor expect and how to prepare yourself in order to fulfill those expectations of supervisor. So you will get the best insights about all these things as we have an experts with us in today's this session. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing us such a wonderful platform. The aim of Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, and suggestions, which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually, as well as to contribute to the world in a positive way. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have a wonderful panel. Let me just start with the first one. Our first guest is the assistant professor at Bahria Business School. We have invited him multiple times, and he is so kind that he is always available for contribution and sharing his knowledge. He has obtained his PhD from University Technology Malaysia, which is one of the top university in Malaysia. He has more than 11 years experience in academia and industry. He has published several research articles in Impact Factor, ISI, the Scopus Index Journal, and HEC recognized journal. In addition to that, he is well equipped with the both qualitative and quantitative research methods and data analysis technique using smart PLS. He is also participated at several international conferences as session chair. So, moreover, his research interest area is Islamic banking and finance. He is a kind of mentor, a friend, a brother to me. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Dr. Shahab Aziz. Welcome to the Kalwas platform and thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for
Okay.
having us. Thank you.
It's always pleasure to have you. Let me just introduce you the second guest. She is associate professor in the School of Tourism and Hotel Management Department of Tour Guiding at the University of Sinop, where she has been a faculty member since 2016. She is also a head of the tour guide department. She completed her PhD at Sakriya University and her undergraduate studies at Balikesir University. She has been also a professional tour guide for 10 years. Research interests lie in the area of tourism management, policy and planning, and organizational behavior, tour guiding, and the women's studies. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Dr. Gul Erkol Bayram. Welcome to the Kalwas platform again, and thank you very much for joining us, Doctor.
Dear Dr. Haider, thank you so much for inviting us. It is a kind pleasure to meet with you today. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, indeed, it's a pleasure to have you people around. It's always learning sessions with you people. Okay, let me just introduce the third guest. He is the associate professor of the entrepreneurship at the Greenwich University, Karachi, Pakistan. He is a PhD in entrepreneurship, innovation, and economic development from Alpen Adria University, Klagenfurt, Austria. His study in the Austria was sponsored by the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan through overseas scholarships. He has published articles in reputable journals like Business Strategy and Environment, Entrepreneurship and Gender, etc. He has presented papers in BAM 2020 and EU RAM 2021 and likewise many international conferences. His research interests are entrepreneurship, youth development, CSR, and qualitative methods. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Dr. Mohammed Nawaz Tunio. Welcome to the Kalwas platform and thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Nawaz.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haider. It's my pleasure and my honor that you always count me and consider me for this creative event. Thank you so much.
It's really it's our pleasure to have you people around. What a fantastic panel session. We have a wonderful, great speaker. So, viewers, today we will be discussing about the expectation of a PhD supervisor. It's very important topic, and most of the time, the student they don't know what the supervisor expect and how to meet their expectations. So today we will explore what are the different issues and challenges that student and supervisor face during this wonderful journey of research. So let's get started. And my first question is from Dr. Nawaz Tunio from you, which is very interesting, and we would like to have your opinion that as a potential supervisor, what factors do you consider in candidate during PhD interview? What is your standard when you consider the interview of a candidate? What you look for? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haider. It's very interesting question, but there is another question from this question to clarify more, so that I can speak about it easily. You are talking about the PhD student at the time of admission, when he is going to enroll himself in the degree program, or when he is completing the coursework and he is looking for the supervisor, and supervisor going to evaluate the strength and weakness of a student and finalize and take the decision whether I'm going to take this student or not. So in both cases, about which stage you are talking about?
Yeah. In our university, what is the procedure is the procedure is when you are going for the interview, you must have a potential supervisor consent. So at that time, the PhD supervisor they consider your different qualities, research qualities, the aptitude, the attitude towards the research, and so many things. But we would like to have your opinion on both perspective. I think you have mentioned very
Okay.
wonderful point, because both are the perspectives are very important to have. First is before the committee when you are going to get the admission, and secondly once you are done with the coursework, and then you are going to select the supervisor. So I think the both flip sides would be very important for the students to know about it. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Heather. Actually, this is a structure or design of the Pakistan, that there are two stages when we consider a student to enter into the PhD. First one is to get admission. Second one is to start research work under the and to find out the supervision. But out of the Pakistan, we are looking when we are looking for the admission, then it's a pre-admission requirement to find out this potential supervisor. Then you will be able to secure admission in any university. So while looking at the both conditions in the national and international perspectives, what we can expect, because we have gone through from the other side as well as a PhD student, now we are on other side as a teacher. So when we were students, we have different perspectives. When we are as a teacher, we have different opinions and totally opposite of that thing which we were thinking before, or which we have ideas or opinions earlier. So at this stage, what we expect from the student, that he should have a clear research direction, that what research direction he is going to choose. There are so many, let's suppose if you are talking about the business administration, there are so many streams of the research. Within the business administration, if you are going for the entrepreneurship, within the entrepreneurship, there are so many dimensions. So a student should have a clear roadmap, that at least he should have an idea that what is his research interest, what is research area, and he should be clear about his strength and weakness, that what are the his qualification, what are his experiences, skills about the let's suppose about the research methodologies, about the course contents, about the research process, about the research journey, that how to carry on the research from the beginning to the end, last stage. Because at the initial stage, when students are starting PhD, they are expecting that they are going to finish or complete their PhD over the year, within a year. It's a very piece of cake they are going to avail it. But this is not like that. So what happened? Being a PhD supervisor, I meet when I first of all meet my students. I found them they were very motivated for the PhD, but their strength or their knowledge capacity was low as I had expected to them. that they should be well familiar about the topic, they should be very well established about the methodology, or they have very at least good research proposal, so that they can introduce that what is their research direction. So slowly, gradually, I gave them guideline that how to start. I took them from the scratch, and then I engaged them in the multiple literature reviews through the books, through the research articles, and I engaged them in the writing process of that these things. While for writing process, they need extensive reading, so I engage them first of all in the writing process, so that they can get exposure about the different topics, different dimensions of the research, different methodologies. When they have a basic idea, then are able to speak and express their opinion. Yes, now we are clear about the entrepreneurship, that we are looking about the academic entrepreneurship. That's the best emerging area, and I want to work in that dimension or that domain. So this is a basic expectation of the supervisor from my point of view, that the student should be well familiar about the basic things about the research, about the structure, about the process. Then he should come in contact with the supervisor. It will be easy to communicate and carry on further process.
Yes, very nicely said. Thank you, Dr. Nawaz, for such an elaborative answer. Now, I will like to have the opinion of Dr. Shahab. Dr. Shahab, what factors do you consider in the candidate during the PhD interview? And tell us about the attitude as well. Do you consider the attitude perspective as well while you are selecting any PhD candidate for under your supervision? Yes, please.
Attitude or your motivation can lead to a positive attitude towards PhD. Or I think having a positive attitude is necessary for any kind of work, either it's PhD or whatever you are doing in your life. As far as the expectation from a supervisor is concerned, I think few of the things already mentioned by Dr. Nawaz. Moving forward, I think what we see in the student is the ability to work independently. Um, whether the potential the student uh, can be able to work independently or not, and to what extent they are clear or they have clarity about whatever they are going to do. Uh, and then we see to what extent they are enthusiastic about their upcoming project or research, whatever they are uh, uh, interested in. And next thing we can look into the problem solving skills, to what extent the student have ability to solve the problem and see the world critically. These are very important aspect as well. um, One of the important aspects is the time management skills. How the students will be able to manage his time. Most of the time, nowadays students are coming with having a job and then they are entering into a PhD. So I mean, for such student, it's very important how they will manage their time, because otherwise it can be just a wastage of money and these sort of things. So the management skills are very important. The motivation is very important. There's academic background and research background is very important as well. What they are bringing into their PhD, because when you jumping into a PhD, you must have a certain level of knowledge about research methodology, different methods available. So I think these skills are very important as well. So if as a student, if you don't have these skills and you enter into PhD, then obviously you have to catch up, because at the end of the day, supervisor is not going to teach you each and everything, right? So if you are bringing these sort of skills into PhD, then it be very helpful. And as a candidate, you can be a very strong candidate if you have good academic background, you have research skills. So these are very important aspect. If you have some experience or publication, that is always good. Entering into a PhD. and a good research proposal, and the strong research proposal where you have um, a good research question to answer, and at the same time, if you can make a theoretical contribution, or empirical contribution, a methodological contribution to the field, whichever you are interested in. I think these are the important aspect. As a supervisor, we can rank them as per our convenience, but these are the important aspect that if a student can bring in, he has a very good chances of not only getting admission but completing the PhD. I think within the time zone. If you lack these sort of skills, I think then might be you might start lacking your motivation during the PhD. So the skills and these sort of things always help you out to go through, and it can be a smooth journey. Otherwise it can be a difficult, because it's a long process. Yeah, it's not just a certificate, a 1 year degree. You'll be spending 3 or 4 years. So you need to bring all these ingredients, I would say, to have a very tasty sort of stuff at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, very elaborative answer. Thank you, Dr. Shahab. And I think you have highlighted very nicely issue. You and Dr. Nawaz, both of you have highlighted very good points which needs to be considered: the academic experience, the publication experience, the time management, the positivity. Dr. Gul, I would like to have your opinion on that. That what factors do you consider in the PhD candidate, and what factors actually impress you as a potential supervisor that you look for? What is your opinion on that? Yes, please.
Thanks for your question, Dr. Haider. All of us have entered to PhD, and maybe there are many participants to know how many ways or how many difficult times when we are doing PhD. But one of the first part of PhD is entering to this very difficult times. For example, in my exam, my PhD supervisor asked me a question: what is the most weakness in your life as a student in the PhD? So, knowing our weakness or challenges as a characteristic, or for example, in our private life, maybe the most tips for answering or entering to this question. But the other one is what is the need of for doing PhD? Uh, why we require to this education level? What is the most important thing for winning or for entering PhD? For gaining a level, or for promoting academy, or for other reason? We know this answer exactly, and after this, maybe this is a simple question. After this, we know that what we need from PhD education, or what we need from our supervisor. The another question of you that how can we impress to supervisor is the important word is impact. Impact is increasingly important factor in academic work because, for example, even in a conference or in a panel, if we impact on audiences or participants, our paper will be much valued or what much showed. So it is important to affected different types of people. So this is particularly important that we show our effectiveness, our works or our projects research to academia. Our projected is effective part in our academical part. So before entering the PhD, we know mainly our project title or our project area. Maybe we can determine what is the topic or what is the main area that we should research, because our supervisor maybe can ask this. Um, so another important is some requirements or details in the PhD times, for example, funding, or for example, or social science. Maybe what is the output our research, what is the effect our research. If we want to impact or if we want to impress our potential PhD supervisor, we should firstly determine and identify the research question and the research title firstly, and maybe we can explain one by one, title, main title or subtitle, the research topic, and etc. I hope I can answer your question, Professor.
Very nicely. Thank you for such a great answer. And I believe all of three you have mentioned very nicely, and these points are very important for the upcoming students. That how can they prepare themselves regarding the academic perspective, their proposal perspective, their attitude perspective, and what the Dr. Shahab has mentioned again, the research background, whether you have the right research background or not. That's another very important part. Now, the second point, once the student is being selected for supervision, the second important aspect is giving the time for the student for the meetings and for the things. Now, the important issue, I would say, the misconception for the student nowadays is that the supervisor would be all the way available for the students, even on short notice. That's a big issue. I would say that the student have the a lot of expectation, and all of us we used to supervise the different PhD students. You people would agree with me that we are very busy, and sometimes what we give is we give the time slot for every PhD student for a discussion, for a meeting to discuss, and to have agendas, discussion agenda on different days on particular time. So now I would like to have the opinion of the Dr. Nawaz, that please share your experience as a student in Austria, and as well as now you are yourself are PhD supervisor. Please share your experience. Does supervisor like to meet on short notice? Are you available to meet on short notice for your students or not? Whether this approach is good for the PhD student or not? Yes, please.
I want to pick one point from the talk of the Dr. Gul. She explained very well. One most important or most important question is that why students are choosing PhD to do PhD? What are the motives behind their doing this PhD? So mostly what we observe, what we have seen, that students are categorized into two groups who are coming for the PhD. First group is those who are necessity driven, who do not find, who are unable to find another opportunity, and they feel that doing PhD is any easy way to get a good job, or to get a very smart opportunity, or to secure own self somewhere in their career. First of all, second one is group is that those group of students who are opportunity driven, who feel that this is the best way where I can contribute, where I can show my existence by contribution, the literature by different ways, writing research articles, writing books, through presenting my work in the conferences, and showing my research contributions. So, second option is very rare, rarely seen among the students, because those students who are coming with a PhD motivation, but they are lacking with some basic background or basic ground of the research, that they are not clear about the methodology, they are not clear about the directions, dimensions, and all these things. These are the most necessary things to carry with themselves first for this question. And the second, about the timing and time expectations from the supervisor. When I was a student, being in Austria, I have did very good working chemistry with my supervisor. He was a very great person. Initially, he took me from the very low temperature. He treated me very friendly, offered me coffee sometimes, lunch, and we developed a friendly environment to create some kind of the comfort zone, so that we can easily share the common things of our study and common issues. Then, slowly, gradually, he increased the temperature, he increased the expectations, he changed his behavior, because it was necessary for me to bring improvement in my behavior, to bring improvement in my performance, and to show something tangible, that I am doing something better and positive and progress in every next meeting. So whenever there was a meeting, because when I was on other side as a student, I used to send my profile or file or draft or something progress to my supervisor. I was expecting that he will either acknowledge immediately, or he give me feedback, or he will call me for the meeting, because always communication begins in a formal way from the email. Then he invites and gives me time. Yes, now you can come to me on this day, this time, this place, either at the cafe, either at the office, or somewhere outside in the park. He gives me 10 to 20 minutes, depending upon need of the task assignment at that time. And whenever I was unable to get feedback from his side, so I was feeling very negative, that what happened. Either I have done something wrong, or I am below the expectations of my supervisor, or there is something missing from my performance. So I was always keeping on check on my performance, my progress, my targets, my day-to-day, weekly, monthly objectives, that what I had to do and where I'm lacking. And I always try to improve. And the next meeting, whenever I used to meet him, and he used to apologize that, oh, sorry, I was out of the station, I was occupied, or was unable to give you a response on the time. So now let's talk about your project, that what is the update on that thing. So it depends upon that. If he was available, he used to give me consent that yes, come on, we can discuss. But on other side now, when we are as a faculty member working in a multiple, dealing multiple tasks and doing it, one person handling the task of the 10 people at the same time, we are looking at the different department, different activities, different assignments. So, what expect new students from us, that we can be available on their demand, on their time, whenever they ask, and if you are not able to address them, or acknowledge them, or give them feedback, it gives some kind of the lack of tolerance from their side, that why we are not giving them response. But on our side, we don't have even time to take a glass of water sometimes, that we are so occupied. But we keep in mind. I always invite my student. I ask them that if I'm not available, I cannot give you a reply to your text or your mail. You can call me directly, frequently, and you discuss your matters. You can visit my office if I'm unable to give you a reply. Find me physically and get your response. So I open the
Very
doors
nice.
of conversation. I don't create some kind of the restrictions, or some kind of the criteria that you cannot meet me anytime, or there are some kind of the deadlines or those things. Based upon the need, if they need to meet, they are welcome to meet. But my expectation is that if you are coming to meet me, bring some progress. Don't come with the same plan. Don't come again with the same excuses. Don't come again with the same stuff or same idea, same conversation, because We are not habitual to repeat these things. We want to know new things from the students, what we have done. If you completed one chapter, then where's the second chapter? What is the progress? What is update? Tell me that what are new readings from your literature? What theories you have studied, explored? What methodology, what research techniques you have learned from the gap of the our last meeting? What is the update about that one? So if he will bring these new things, it will be productive and interesting, and we also feel happy that yes, our student is on track. We don't need to worry about him. We don't need to keep check on him because he is doing his business in the right way.
Yeah, very nicely said, Dr. Nawaz. And really, I appreciate your wonderful answer. You have mentioned very nicely that there are two groups for the first question, which is again very interesting one. Yes, the first group is the people who come to the PhD just because they want to have something of to do to carry out, and they might be doing it as a part time. But there are certain people who are really passionate about the research and want to have the career in the research background. And second important, your answer, I love that you want to see your student to come to your office, to walk to your office with the progress. That's the wonderful statement. Yes, indeed. If you have progressed, if you have work, then come and discuss with me, and that's the wonderful thing. It means you are working on your topic and your thesis, and now you have come because for certain productive discussion. That's nice. Now I would like to have the opinion of Dr. Shahab Aziz. Dr. Shahab, you know that PhD journey is a long journey, and we develop association with the supervisor professionally, because most of the time we go to the supervisor, seek his or her guidance, and most of the time we spend a lot of time with the supervisor. So now the question is very important. The question is that do you think it is recommended to discuss family issues with your supervisor? Because sometimes we are suffering homesickness if we are abroad. Sometimes we have some family issues. So is it recommendable to discuss family problems or issue with your supervisor as a human? What do you take on that? Yes, please.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to respond to the previous question. As a
Please.
student, as a student, you need to understand um, your supervisor, because the supervisor are pretty busy as well. So you need to give some space to the supervisor at time. And I think one thing that student and supervisor can do is because they both are expecting something from each other. So student have certain expectation from supervisor. At the same time, supervisor have some expectation from the student. So what both of them can do is set their expectation right away. When you enter into first meeting, I think these things should be bring into discussion, that how often we'll be meeting, what will be the method of communication, so it's very important you set the tone right at the start, that how both of you will be moving forward. So it's very important, so that there shouldn't be any confusion later on, that how I should respond and how. Secondly, whenever a student entering into meeting, there should be an agenda, or the purpose of meeting should be decided before meeting. And I think it's good if a student can email the purpose or the agenda. This meeting will be specifically for this purpose, so that the supervisor is also know what will be the agenda of discussion in the upcoming meeting. And thirdly, there should be a regular meeting. As a student, you shouldn't wait for the supervisor to uh, give you a buzz that come and meet me. So as a student, I think it should be seen that you are pretty motivated for your study, that you are not just laying back in between. So that's very important. And as a student, you should not cancel a meeting, because that carries a very bad impression. Even if you are not well prepared, you can go into the meeting, and you can, maybe you have some personal issues, the way you said that, because we are at the end of the day, we are human beings, and every human is different, and every human have a different background. Maybe at times people have some family issues and stuff like that because it's a long journey. So there can be a lot of ups and down in between. So um, coming to now your question, um, yes, I mean, if you have any personal issue, because these issues ultimately will affect your progress, and then again you and supervisor will be confronting each other. So it's better if you have any problem, even if it's a family problem, and I don't think there's any harm in bringing into that discussion so that the supervisor really understand your circumstances, right? So he will maybe keep his or her expectation according to your circumstances, maybe for that particular time period. Obviously these things cannot go for too long, that you cannot work or stuff like that, you have family issues. That will be again something not good. But at times people having a problem, and for the sometime you your supervisor should know and understand that as well, because um, the understanding on the both part is very important, because we want this relationship to be very smooth and should not go into any negative mode between student and supervisor. Otherwise it will be a very difficult, especially for student. Might not be a supervisor, but for students very important that the relationship go on smoothly. So I don't think there's any harm in telling the supervisor if you have any issue. Maybe supervisor can help you out in that, because he's having experience, and lot of us has gone through these sort of things as well, like family issues and stuff like that during our study. So maybe a supervisor can help you out, how you can manage that particular situation. So there's no harm in discussing, but again I think can vary from supervisor to supervisor. So as a student, I think you should understand the chemistry of your supervisor as well. So and the at time the mood of the supervisor, so it's not always same. We are human being, we do have different moods and emotions, stuff like that. So understanding of these things is very important. If you as a student think that you are very comfortable in sharing your even uh, personal matter or something that is gonna harm your study or for some time, so it's good to bring into discussion, I think.
Yeah, very nicely said, Dr. Shahab Aziz. And I love your statement. Yes, there is no harm, but you have to consider the chemistry, which we would call as the limitation. And I really liked the way you said it varies from person to person. Yes, there is the things, and we are humans. We have the emotions, we have the mood swings, so that depends on that as well. But I love your one of this point that the supervisor are experienced and they might help us while solving certain problems because we don't know the solution at that time. So now I would like to have the opinion of Dr. Gul. Yes, Dr. Gul, Dr. Shahab Aziz has pointed a very wonderful thing, and that is that you should not cancel meeting with the supervisor. It's not a good impression. So now I would like to have your opinion that how frequently do you expect communication with the PhD student? Do you prefer the email or in-person meetings or through Zoom meeting? Or what is the frequency you meet with your PhD students for the purpose to know the progress, that how much progress they have done with a certain period of time? Yes, please.
Thanks for your question. Maybe you following on my relationship with my students on social media. I like to communicate with my students so much, and I am trying to interest and concern each of students on my supervising. And I would like to speak at least once a week, or maybe twice a week at least. And if possible, I would like to prefer one by one students, but if I have not time so much, I can make agreements with, for example, similar group, or with, for example, several students have similar topics or similar research area. And this takes my time for 1 hour in a day. I scheduled this fixed day or time each a week. And also maybe we can have the room or have the meeting room for this. I have, for example, some presents to my students, and I have a hospitality manner to my students. For example, when coming to my room for speaking with their thesis or research, I would like to present to my students a coffee or maybe a chocolate and etc. for relaxing or concentrating to topics. It is minor. These are minor, but for me, this is so important because many students thinks after the PhD times, what will should do after PhD. For this reason, I observed that many students don't see the success of the process. They mainly see the results of the PhD, but it is not the main motivator of a student, because if we want to make a good article from our thesis, PhD thesis, we mainly focus on the process and the quality of our research, of our thesis. So even I had the same vision as I mentioned now. I would like to change my students' opinion related this. I would like to answer your question. How many times for speaking or, for example, meeting with students? I am the side of the speaking with different students as soon as possible. I have many duties during a day and during a week, but even if I have many jobs in a day, I would like to take time to my all of students when coming to my room and asking some question. No matter important how much is it, because our students can see very can see their future very variedly, and as a mentor or as a supervisor, we would like to try to make relax to our students as much as possible. I think I can. I hope I can answer your question, Doctor.
Dr. Haider Shah, we can't hear you. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry. Uh, uh, what I was saying that that was a wonderful answer, Dr. Gul, and you heard very important points right from the motivation and all these things. And wonderful tips that you are sharing for the upcoming students, that how do the supervisors think and expect from their student in terms of their capabilities, in terms of their behavior, in terms of their academic exposure, and all these things. Now, I would like to ask another very important question, and I would like to have all of your opinion on that. The three speakers, please, one by one, state the opinion. So I start with the Dr. Nawaz. Dr. Nawaz, can you tell us what does the supervisor support mean? Because it is the term which is defined by every PhD student in a different way. So we need to have your opinion that what does this supervisor support mean? The support is to support in the different defenses, the proposal defense, the candidature defense, the final defense, or the viva defense, are to support to build their own capabilities, are to support them to give them the tough environment so that they can grow, are to facilitate them in the process. What does this supervisor support mean to you? Yes, please. Your mic is mute, Dr. Nawaz.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Haider, for interesting question. I will pick a point from the conversation of Dr. Shahab. He highlighted very interesting perspective about the chemistry relationship of the supervisor and student. That's a very necessary to have a very strong relationship, very understanding, very good understanding. So I will quote here my recent example about my fellow student, that she had submitted her thesis and she got married and have mashallah, a baby. After having a baby, she came to me to bring those reviews of the thesis which I had sent him a year ago. So she was unable to address those suggestions or comments. She did not incorporate in that one for the reason that she was busy with a new life and having a baby and so many family issues. So she brought her baby with herself. So in my office, she was crying for the thesis, and her baby was crying because of her. She was crying. So I was surprised and I was amazed at what should I do? I should I handle her baby or should I handle herself? What should I do in this situation? So in those cases, research students should share their family issues with the supervisor so that we can understand that what are the reasons behind the low performance, so that we can justify and we can relate and we can keep them on that temperature. But we should not keep them in the comfort zone. We cannot give them we cannot keep them comfortable for the longer time, because keeping them in comfort zone means we are not making them more productive. A student is a production of the tough time. When you give increase their temperature, increase their workload, sometimes they can become unexpectedly more productive than you imagine or you expect. So in that case, we have to comfort them, but we do not have to be mechanical in that process, because after all, we are human being and we have to consider the humanic factors, that everybody has a different social and economic issues. Despite all these things, we have to drive them in a smooth way, in a right direction. So
Wow, great.
this was,
Please,
yeah.
please
Uh,
continue.
this was my perspective on your and the reflection on your question with respect
Very
to the
nicely.
reflection from Dr. Shah.
Very nice, great, and very nicely you have connected the Dr. Shahab that point of the chemistry to match with your supervisor, and you have very nicely linked to your this question that how does it is important to have the supervisor support and what does it mean. And you have very nicely mentioned one thing which is I think very important, that sometimes we give a less tough environment and the student performs outrightly wonderful, and it can be go other way around. So that's why they say humans are very unpredictable and they are very difficult to manage. But now if you know the techniques how to deal with them, that's the wonderful thing. And I think a supervisor, their main responsibility is not to teach them the research things, but also to guide them in the right direction. And for that, we need to have a bit of understanding understanding of the psychology as well, because it's all about the human psychology, that how do you motivate, how do you give the direction and vision and all these things. So you have very nicely mentioned, Dr. Nawaz, that yes, giving the tough environment actually make them more responsible towards their work, and they can come up with the wonderful remarks. So, Dr. Shahab, now I would like to have your opinion that what does this supervisor support mean, and what the Dr. Nawaz has already mentioned, that yes, if we give them the good environment, a tough environment, they may prove to be more productive. But how do you see the supervisor support when you were student, and now how do you support your PhD student? What are the things which you consider as your support? Yes, please.
I think the support means that we are supporting the students to enhance his level of knowledge, enhance his level of skills, keep the student motivated, and help him in attending different academic conferences, seminar, workshops, stuff like that. I think this is the support. I think that as a supervisor, we should give to the student. The other part is that helping the student during Viva. I think that students should not keep these things in their mind. I think the focus should be on learning and making a contribution to the knowledge. Right. I think this should be the focus. And as a student, one thing the student should understand that the PhD thesis is. It's their work, right? It's not the supervisor's work. So at the end of the day, it's the student who will defend his work, not the supervisor. So the student needs to have a control on the situation and take full control of the, thesis and whatever is happening around that, and should not expect from the supervisor that it will be due to that supervisor it will be easy going, Viva, and so rather the focus should be on learning, and from supervisor perspective too. I think the focus should be on these things rather than helping the student during Viva. And yes, you can, as a mentor, as a supervisor, you can give him tips, give him different questions that the examiner do ask, so that your student is ready for those questions, and how he or she understand those aspects, so that he can clearly defend whatever. So help in terms of these things, I think, is recommended, and this is what we as a supervisor try to help the student as well, not the other way around during the Viva and stuff like that.
Yeah, very nicely mentioned. And I think Dr. Shahab and Dr. Nawaz has explained very well, because there is a misconception regarding that thing, that what does this supervisor support mean? Yes, the supervisor support mean in that perspective that they help you in academic activities, they guide you. And very nicely, Dr. Shahab mentioned that it is their work, thesis is their work, and they have to defend it, and they are the expert, so they should be doing it by themselves and just seeking the advice of the supervisor. Now I would like to have the opinion of Dr. Gul. Yes, Dr. Gul, what does this supervisor support mean, and how do you support your PhD student? Please remove this misconception of doing all the things by the supervisor. It's not the supervisor work; it's the work of the student. Yes, please.
Thanks for your question. My PhD supervisor, or also my master supervisor, so we had a very close relationship with him. And when I was a baby in 2018, he sent me a present for my baby with my another students in my master and also PhD. So I seem to my supervisor as my second father, maybe, or my elder brother. I tell my many various related my academic issues or my social life and etc. He is so important for me. Whenever I haven't talked so much during my duties, he is the most important part in my life. So supporting means on behalf of supervisor is pursuing our goal of getting the PhD degree and the other part of our life after PhD. Having a supportive supervisor means too much a lot, and one of them maybe we have a person. Maybe supervisor have a person that we can trust, and maybe we can say that he is also with us. Support maybe should include mental support, physical support, as Dr. Nawaz and Dr. Shahab said, but it also means having a helping hand when we need. Maybe supervisor should feel this. For example, if we need a hand of an elder brother or a father, maybe our supervisor should feel and act like a like this. And we can make a contact with other scientists. It is so possible, but the supervisor should be a bridge between other scientists, because we are the new researcher. We don't know any people around the academical arena. So our supervisor should direct to other researcher who want to get in touch with for more qualified paper or thesis. While guidance, it emphasizes the procedure of successful steering you through, for example, 3 or 4 years of PhD. Support is our safety, but when we are off track or when there are something to handle that exceeds our power also, contacting with our supervisor doesn't need to be restricted to a schedule meeting, I think. If we need a meeting, we can contact our supervisor anytime, and he or she should also be able to offer advice on more times. Um, a supervisor offers isn't topic expertise so much as a research experience. We haven't completed a PhD before, so our supervisor should know it is a chance to make faultless or make uncompleted jobs. That problem seems insurmountable, that, and our supervisor will be able to help you see why we are. Support also can extend beyond our PhD thesis after PhD, and it is a sustainable support, I think, during our life. Because I have only one supervisor during my life, and until I die, it is the only supervisor for me. So we should make a big value to our supervisor, and knowing from on behalf of him, it is so much important, I think. We should make the most of these opportunities if we arise, and it is important not to treat students as a basic expectations. And I think we should be more carefully when we behave to all of students. Thank you so much for your questions, Dr. Haider.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gul. You always come up with a so nice explanation, and you quote so many of your own personal examples. And I think really you have very nicely mentioned the different dimensions of support. That what is support, and how did your supervisor support supported you in your master and PhD, and even after the PhD. What you have mentioned is the same thing. It's the, I think, long lasting relationship. If you support your student, they always remember it, they always regard it, and they always remain respectful to you in for life long. That's the wonderful part. And now, since the time is short, I would quickly ask the question, because we have received a lot of questions, and now we have to cover at least the major questions, so that the audience misconceptions could be removed appropriately. Now, I would like to go to the Dr. Nawaz. Dr. Nawaz, please share your expectations from the student who is in the research proposal stage. What do you expect from the student who is the beginner in that research journey at the research proposal stage? What are your expectations as a supervisor? Yes, please. Your mic is mute, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haider Shah, for a very excellent question. I will add one point to the conversation discussed by the Dr. Gul and Dr. Shah regarding the support during the PhD journey of the student. Most important support is emotional and psychological support that the student needs and expects from the supervisor from the throughout the PhD at the different phases of the PhD, from the proposal defense to the final defense. First of all, second one is our key role is to empower him to grow, to improve him, and enable him so that he can sell himself independently in the market before the audience, before the group of the people from the different disciplines. So that's our main. That is our main role. That is a support we can offer. But we cannot offer them support like in interviews in the defense or in some kind of these things. Let's suppose I'm giving you an example that after 2 days on the Tuesday, there is going to be an initial proposal defense of my students. I have tried my best level to prepare them, and they are going to introduce their different ideas in different ways. But I have told them clearly that I am here to support you the day before of the presentation. That on the presentation day I will be completely passive. I will be as an audience. There will be no any kind of the role or contribution or support from my side to you. You will be on your own, and you have to defend yourself. So be efficient enough to face the questions and to address them and to handle them. So and coming back to your question, that what we expect from the student from the at the proposal stage. So we know that students do not have a very strong background. They do not come from the similar kind of the research. Every student does not have any publication in advance or already. Okay, so, sometimes they have just ambition, motivation to conduct the research or to do the PhD or to start the journey or to learn the new things, to explore the things, and they expect from the supervisor to guide them and provide them a roadmap for that one. So at this stage, basic thing is that they should be at least clear about the research idea. They have idea at least, and some kind of the rough research proposal, tentative, we can say tentative plan, that they have something base in their hands that can be improved, that could be polished, that can be discussed, that can be transformed, because one chosen topic may not be the final topic for the PhD. Research topic for the proposal for the PhD can be changed from one to several numbers, second number, third number, fourth number, wherever you feel fit. That a student is very good at this topic, or he has find the good research gap he can address and handle within the given time period. So basically, research plan, research idea is very necessary for a student to have. That is a key to unlock their research degree program.
Yeah. Very nicely said, Dr. Nawaz, and I think that's the wonderful answer that we do not have a lot of expectation from the beginner at the proposal stage. And as you have mentioned very rightly, that the research proposal will be changed, that will be altered so many times, and it will be modified so many times. Thank you, Dr. Nawaz, for such a wonderful answer. Now, I would like to have the Dr. Shahab opinion that there is a great debate, and we have received a lot of questions regarding this question. And please share your opinion that which approach is more favorable to you as a supervisor, being proactive versus following the command. Sometimes what happens is that we ask the student that work on problem statement and bring it to me, and then we will discuss the problem, and then we will decide the topic. But what we see is the student, they will bring not only the problem statement, they will bring the research gap, they will bring the research contribution, research limitation, and all these things. So is it a good approach? Is it called as a proactive approach? Or what is the good approach to your supervisor regarding your progress or regarding your work? Yes, please.
I think students should be proactive, but not in a sense the way you have mentioned that the supervisor has asked something else and you are coming with something else. So I think proactive means that as a we want to see our students. They are bringing something into the discussion, right? It's not that they are just a passive listeners and following command. We want to listen from the other side as well, right? What exactly the student is coming from, whether he has prepared something regarding the agenda or not. So I think it's very important as a student that you should be proactive in a sense that whatever the agenda of the discussion is, the student should be well prepared when you coming into the meeting, right? Rather than just coming and being passive and just following the commands from the other side. No, basically it's a two-way process, right? It cannot work one way. So as a student you need to, because it's your study, it's your degree, it's your thesis, at the end of the day you have, so student need to have a control of the situation as well, that he or she should bring something on the table, right, to discuss, and we should be proactive. And I think that's something very good, and supervisor going to appreciate that approach. If as a student you go and you bring in something for the discussion, so that really shows that as a student you are very much motivated. So as a student your job as well, so you are coming with well prepared. I think this is a very good approach rather than just going and being passive and just listening and following the command from the supervisor. I think that's not a good approach to me. So you should be proactive, and um, one should be looking like that you are motivated, you have a positive attitude, you are well prepared and stuff like that. I think these are the positive thing which as a student you must bring in when you go for discussion with the supervisor.
Yeah, wonderful answer, Dr. Shah. And very nicely, you have started with the definition of what is it actually. Sometimes we don't understand what is proactive, what is the command following. And very nicely, you have mentioned that it's not about the doing something which you have not asked for. What I have understood from your point of view, that go in depth and work on a thing which you have been given. For example, the problem statement, go in depth and studied it in a wonderful way and come up with a wonderful explanation so that the supervisor could explore or you could explore more in a proper way. So very nicely you have mentioned. I would like to have your opinion on very interesting thing. Dr. Gul, at the time of selecting the research topic, we are very confused as a student. So sometimes the student, they come up to the supervisor and they ask for the topic, and sometimes they bring their own topic. So in general, please tell us, our audience, that what is your approach? Do you tend to give your students the topic, or you give them the freedom to select the topic which they like, or what is the good match for that? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haider. As Dr. Shahab said, being proactive as a supervisor is so key prominence for conducting thesis. I have the same mentality for choosing topics in thesis. As a supervisor, firstly, I ask to my students, what is the topics on your brain, or is there any background for the thesis, or is there any preparation for the research? After I have the answer yes, I ask what do he or she thinks about the research theme or research plan, and the topic also. If he is no idea about the topics or title or plan, maybe we can make a plan or make a way to continuing the thesis. But I think if we have the more proactive in our thesis, students sometimes can little things, because he thinks that my supervisor can handle many jobs instead of me. So I couldn't do, for example, choosing the topic. I couldn't do anything doing the research. I couldn't do anything collecting the data, or I couldn't do anything making interview with the related person, because my supervisor can choose, can contact, and can do this. So yes, I can choose my students' topics, and also we can make a plan together. But I have mostly have the idea that students do more things instead of supervisor, because during these times I saw many unfavorable students that should do something instead of like a supervisor. So there is a sliding line between a student or between a supervisor when conducting the thesis. We know, I think we should know our role as a supervisor, and also we should remind to students what is the role of students, I think. That's all, Professor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gul. And I would say I'm really enjoying the way you people are giving the answer, which is so great. And I'm just wondering that how great suggestions you people are sharing with the audience for the upcoming researchers, the students, because these are so enlightenment. And I believe that if I had such kind of discussion in advance, I would have learned so many things in advance before experiencing it by myself. So thank you very much for wonderful sharing. And now I will quickly ask the Dr. Nawaz. Dr. Nawaz, there is a one question from a lot of students, and they are very keen about it. The question is, as a student, guide us, how can we evaluate a potential supervisor? Which qualities we should look for in supervisors?
Dr. Heather, we are unable to listen you. There's internet interruption. There's connection issue from your side, I think. I think there's a connection. Yes. Dr. Shahab, you can unmute yourself. We can't hear you. There's mute from your side.
Oh yeah. So I think there was some internet issue on the part. Dr. Gul, did you understood the question? I was unable to, understand as well what was the question.
I think he was asking about the expectation of students from the supervisor, that how to find the potential supervise, what should be the strength or weakness, or what should be the parameters when we are going to choose a supervisor, as much as I could
Doc-
understand.
Dr.
Yes.
Yes,
Heather,
yes,
Yeah.
Dr.
can you,
Sorry, I think
Please.
there is an internet connection issue, so that was
that, that's
a
it's
disruption.
okay. It's okay now. Can you go
Yeah,
ahead?
yeah. Okay. So welcome back. And now I would like to ask the Dr. Nawaz. Dr. Nawaz, there is a wonderful question by a lot of students, and they want to seek your guidance regarding that thing. That as a student, guide us. How can we evaluate a potential supervisor? Which qualities we should look for in a supervisor? Sometimes what happens is, for example, in HR, we have a lot of faculty available. So now, please give your PhD supervisor what qualities they should look for. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Heather, for the interesting question. Basic thing is that when they are looking for any kind of the supervisor, or going to find out that which is the appropriate supervisor for the students. So basic thing is the similarity of the field of interest is a necessary thing. Let's suppose if you are from the HR domain, then you are looking for the professor. But in the human resources management, there are so many subfields. You have to check the expertise and common interest of the supervisor, that whether it's relevant to your research interest, to your research area or not, first of all. And second thing, that before going to meet the supervisor, you should go to the research profile of the professor, that what are his latest publications, in which journals he has published, targeted the journals. And from that perspective, you will see that what is the strength of your supervisor, and if he is relevant to your field, then you can go for it, because you are going to engage 3 to 4 years with that professor. And for that purpose, it is necessary to have a common field or some research area that's necessary. And this is we can say that common interactive as expectation. Before of this one, there's another thing, foundation of this choice, that you must have a patience, you must be consistent, and you must be organized. You must have these three qualities before choosing the supervisor, before going to contact him for your research purpose and for the guidance. So that's my take on this. And what I would like to know from you, Dr. Gul and Dr. Shahab, please, over to you. Please unmute yourself.
Automatically becomes, I don't know. Dr. Heather is gone again, I think. I don't know the viewers can listen us or not. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, I think there is a internet connection issue, and we have also reached to the time constraint. I think we should have another part two session of this wonderful discussion, because I'm not only enjoying your suggestion and thoughts, but I'm loving it because you people are actually is the things which are coming out of my heart even to listen to his wonderful answer for that was he referred to the profile of the supervisor as well, that you have to see his strength and weaknesses in that perspective and all these things, which was so great. So I believe that because we have so many questions left, and I think which are very pertinent and very important in terms of that, how can we actually guide the upcoming students in terms of the help to fulfill the expectation of the supervisors. But finally, I would take the opinion of other two speaker on the same question, and then we will close this session, and we will have inshallah the second part of this panel discussion with the same speakers. Dr. Shahab, can you share please your experience, that how did you choose your supervisor, or what the qualities you actually looked for your potential supervisor, so that it could be enlightenment for our audience, that they be able to select the supervisor if they have the chance to select the supervisor for themselves.
Yeah, my interest was in working some in Islamic finance. So I knew that in Malaysia there are a lot of universities which are offering PhD in Islamic finance. So NCIF was one of the famous university in Malaysia which offering Islamic finance, and UTM. Then I've searched on some other universities, like UTM was very good university. It was in KL as well. Location is very important as well. Where you're going. You need to know about the university, the places, stuff like that. So then I saw the profiles of different professors in both universities, and then I had a sort of proposal as well. Like, initial email should not be a blank email, right? That you just email us, supervisor, that I want to work with you, and this is not recommended. So you need to see the profile of the supervisor, and you should have some sort of initial plan of study and something like that, like maybe a small sort of proposal, maybe 2-3 pages research idea that you wanted to share with the uh, supervisor. So the email should not be a generic email, right? It should be very specific what exactly you want to do, so that the supervisor can see and respond to you accordingly. If it's a generic email, I don't know you'll get a response or not. So I had a small sort of proposal as well. So I with a brief introduction of myself, my experience, what exactly I'm interested in, my topic, and small proposal. So then I emailed this to whoever they had a relevant sort of research profile, or who are matching with my studies. So I emailed to three supervisor in UTM, and all the three responded back to me. Two of them were very relevant to me. So later on, I ended up with those two. Like, one was my supervisor, other was my co-supervisor. So I think this is the way to approach this. First of all, you should have clarity on your part, what exactly you are interested to do. What is your field? What is your domain? So clarity on students' part is very important to start with, and then obviously you have to see which university or which country you want to apply, and then obviously you can browse through the university's websites, and the research profile of the professor is already always available out there, so you can see which one you know uh, matches your research interest, and then accordingly you can approach this was um the way I approached to these supervisors. I got a response as well from them. So I think this is the way to start with. Thank you.
Oh, very nice. Thank you very much for sharing your story, that how did you approach to your supervisor. And very nicely you have mentioned that yes, you have to look for your own profile as well. What are your topic, your potential topic, the relevance, the research capabilities, and then the supervisor, the relevancy with him or her, and his profile, which the Dr. Nawaz Tonio has also mentioned, that what is the research profile and the strength of the profile, and whether it matches with your topic and your research area which you are trying to work. That's very nice. Now, Dr. Gul, can you please share your story of how did you choose your supervisor, and what do you recommend the qualities they should look for in potential supervisor? Yes, please.
During my PhD times, we have not option for choosing our supervisor. So the computer choose on behalf of me to my supervisor. But I am so lucky to have a chance, such a beautiful people and supervisor like me. In my opinion and on my suggestion, um, students maybe can choose supervisor having some qualities. Firstly, their supervisor should be expertise in students research area. It is the most important thing, firstly most important thing. And maybe students can ask to other students opinion, what is the motivation and what is the characteristic of supervisor. For example, some professor have a strong vibes and maybe a little worried about the thesis. And I think the second option is the supervisor should have discipline to work with regularly with their students. Should control what do they students do, and should maybe give feedback about their progress, and should advise and support what do they and or what do they shouldn't. And a good supervisor should direct to their her students to some conferences, related conferences, or related maybe book chapters or research paper regularly, but according to their capabilities and according to their knowings about related subject area. Um, and also our supervisor will have some core responsibilities around our thesis and our project. So this is the most important and crucial parts if we are academicians choosing supervisor. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gul, and I really love the answer you have given. Is you have to look for the expertise, whether the supervisor has the right expertise or not, the different characteristics, and how they are going to help them in that. Very nicely said. One last question, because this question we have received almost 8 times, so we could not actually ignore that question, because that PhD student has sent email 8 times just to include this question in this panel discussion. So I would like to have the all of you three opinion on that. The question is very interesting, and I would start with Dr. Nawaz. Dr. Nawaz, please answer to this question. The question is, dear sir, I am the PhD student. I have been asked in my previous PhD interview that what does PhD mean to you? What should be my answer, and what is an appropriate answer to it? Yes, please. Unmute, please. Your mic is mute.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haider. That's very dynamic question. Actually, answer of this question varies from person to person because of their nature, because of their motives, because of their interest. As I told you, that some students are necessity driven. They are doing PhD because they want to find a means of income or want to get a title of the doctor. and to be called to have a PhD degree. Some people come by desire, by dreams, by targets, by their passion that we have to achieve this degree. We want to be a researcher. We have other options of the career, like we could go to the police department, we could go to the revenue department, we could go to the school level. Why we are choosing the PhD? Because I want to be a researcher, I want to be a contributor, I want to show my existence in the world through the literature. So this response of answer of this question is actually spontaneous, depending upon the nature of the student and their choice. If being in my shoes, if I will answer this question, then I will answer this question that this was my career goal. I wanted to be a PhD because of my inspiration from my elders, from my brother, Dr. Nawaz, from my teachers who taught me at the universities, at their different schools. So I was inspired and motivated from them, and their way of teaching, their way of behavior, created kind of the career path for me to move on and to adopt this journey.
Wow, wonderful answer to that, Dr. Nawaz. Very nicely, you have given the answer that if you were in that place, you would have set the career goal. You want to be like your role model, and I think that's the appropriate answer for this question. But again, what you have mentioned very nicely that it varies from person to person, and it depends on what you want to get out of the PhD. And if I am not mistaken, what you have referred to is your first answer. The first question, the first answer which you have mentioned, there are two groups actually that come for the PhD. One group is interested in the degree and things, other things, and one group is interested in carrying out the appropriately and to become the passionate researcher. So now I would like to have the opinion of Dr. Shahab Aziz. Yes, Dr. Shahab Aziz, what does PhD mean to you? If you are a student, what would be your answer for that? Yes, please.
Yeah, I think the best answer can be you need to have a broader scope when you answering this question rather than have a narrow scope like a career or stuff like that. I think you can go in terms of like, we want to make a contribution to the society, like how your research can contribute to the society. You are bringing up a new way to solve these issues or challenges or problems. So I think if you broaden the scope of your answer, that becomes pretty important because means that you have a larger objective of doing a PhD. It's not just a job or you want to have a career, you want to earn something, but you have at the end of the day, I think as a researcher, we should make a contribution to the society through our research and, um, to provide better solutions to the problem and the challenges that the world or our societies are facing. So I think if you answer in terms of that, I think that's going to be a very impactful answer rather than just bringing the answer to something specific which is related to your own personal career or stuff like that. So I think a broader scope can be a better answer as far as my opinion is concerned. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for wonderful answer again. Dr. Shahab Aziz has referred towards the contribution to the world and society because researcher is not limited to any area, any topic. They can conduct research on any topic at any geographical location as well. So you can contribute very well on different fronts. So we have gotten the two wonderful perspective. One, the Dr. Nawaz, that we must have a goal. And if I can quote, I would quote the Jim Rohn, which is a wonderful American philosopher, scholar. He actually wrote in his book that you must have a goal in order to achieve it. And that's what Dr. Nawaz has also mentioned, that if you have the right goal, only then you can achieve it. So this is how we set. So now I would like to have the opinion of the Dr. Gul, that Dr. Gul, what does PhD mean to you? And if you were in the position of that PhD student, what what would have you answered to that panel? Yes, please.
Thanks a lot, Doctor. As Dr. Nawaz said, PhD is a long way to go during our lives. I would like to stress on behalf of the means of PhD. What is the reason of doing PhD if we want to be academical position in our life? Or not. Firstly, if we have much passion for more research and with academically, we can prefer to do a PhD. And also, another section is if we want to be an expert in our field. For example, my area is tourism management. We can build a systematic build in our brain with a PhD by a very prominent academicians in our area. And also, we can put our studies we can put our studies into practice. We can learn with engaged peers, and we can boost our career with more academically, and we can have a chance to make more network with our opportunities. We can see different cities, different peoples have different experiences. I think making a PhD is a long way to go. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, very nice, Dr. Gul. Once again, superb answer. And what I can conclude from this question is the wonderful way that, as the Dr. Nawaz said about the long way to go, the wonderful goals, the Dr. Shahab said the contribution in a larger scope, and then again, what the Dr. Gul has referred to the meeting with the new people, roaming around, conducting research, finding the new people. And I think the research has this beauty that you will come across wonderful people, wonderful audience, wonderful places, and all the time you are learning. And if you are learning, it means you are growing. So once again, thank you, Dr. Gul, for such a wonderful answer. Really a great session it was with you people. Since time has not allowing us for further this to carry on this session, we would like to request you again for another session, the part B of this wonderful discussion, because so many questions are left and we had received a lot of questions. So definitely we'll be holding another session, and we would again request to these respected guest speakers to come and share their wonderful experiences with us in order to guide us in the right direction. And I would say that very nice questions and answers. I would say that really it is the enlightenment session for all the people, for all the researchers, because I believe that for researcher there is no age limit. Anyone could be a researcher, whether he is or she is at age of 90, 100, 60, 50, 40, 30. You can be a researcher. That's the beauty of the researcher. But we need direction, we need the guidance, and we need the experts from the field so that they could guide us in the right way. So once again, thank you very much for such a wonderful answers, suggestions, and recommendations. So in the last, we take the message from the each guest. So we start with the first Dr. Gul. Dr. Gul, what is your message to the world as a speaker, teacher, author, researchers, and professional? Yes, please.
I couldn't say your words, the first words of the question clearly, but I mean that the last words from the session of that. As you mentioned before, doing a PhD is exploring the new people and new places around the world. So, if the participants want to make a PhD or gaining more information on your career, I think choosing the right person with the right time is the most crucial part of our lives. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gul. And now, Dr. Nawaz, what is your message to the world? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shah, for this wonderful opportunity to meet with Dr. Shahab and Dr. Gul and to discuss and to listen them. Thank you for nice ice breaking. On this closing session, I would like to leave a message that once if you are a PhD, PhD doctor, researcher is like some kind of a physician, doctor, MBBS doctor, who once, if he is a doctor, he's a lifetime doctor. He is not a doctor at the clinic only, he is not a doctor at the hospital only, but he is a doctor at the streets, at the house, at the every avenue, at every place where he is ready to offer his services. So simultaneously, when you are a researcher, when you are a PhD, once you are not researcher at the business school or university, you are researcher beyond the boundaries. Therefore, extend your help, extend your guidance, stay humble, stay positive, and be contributing towards the society. Try to help those people who are looking for the solution of the problems and who are looking for some questions from their limited circle. Be open to all the people who are looking for such kind of the guidance, such kind of the information. So stay kind, stay cooperative, stay positive around the circle and with the community, with the society. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wonderful. So great message to the world, but in a short phrases. And that's the beauty of the expert. They squeezed ocean into a drop. Yes, Dr. Shahab, finally, what is your message to the world as a teacher, researcher, author, professional? Yes, please.
Well, as a you know, quite often we have heard and read that passion drives the world, right? So I think as an individual, you should do something which you are passionate about. So be it a PhD, or you want to be a researcher, you want to be an entrepreneur, I mean, you need to see your strength and weaknesses, uh, what can be better for you, where you can excel as a human being. So not it necessarily it can be a PhD, it can be something else as well. So you need to see your own strength and weaknesses. Accordingly, you should decide uh, what is the right choice for you as an individual. So this is the message that the personal choice, whatever someone is going to make, it should relate to his or her passion to whatever he or she want to achieve. Secondly, if you become a researcher, I think every challenge is an opportunity for a researcher to see in that perspective. So we in the world, we have seen many challenges. We are facing many challenges. Every challenge is an opportunity for researcher to come up and solve that problem, so that because the objective should be to make a contribution to the society at the end of the day. So as a researcher, we have a very important role. Like we can see a recent example is the COVID, how quickly the scientists and the researcher came up with a vaccine. Within few months, the researcher, this was all possible because of the research. So there is a huge contribution that the researcher can make for this society. uh, this is how, if we become a researcher, this is how I think we should think and try to make a contribution to the society, so that we can have a better society where we and like we have a lot of problem, inequality and poverty. The world is facing many challenges and many issues. So I think as a researcher, we should try to play our part, and whatever contribution we can make for the society, we should go ahead and make it. And the first message is there that you should go after your passion. Don't do something because others are doing. Don't do PhD because your family is pushing for you,
Thank
your friends are pushing for you. Look inside yourself. You know what are you good at, where you can make a contribution to the society. I mean, it can be through other ways as well. You can be a philanthropy, you can be an educational, you can be a sportsman. I mean, the world is wide open for you. So you have broader your scope of thinking and options, and then you should choose the whichever option seems to be good for you. So this is how I think we as an individual should think about life generally, and how we should go about these things. Thank you.
yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Shahab Aziz. Very nice. And at the end, I would say, yes, it was a great session with all of the great three speakers. Expectations of a PhD supervisors. Please do follow the distinguished guest speakers through their research work. They are always ready to help the people, and you can email them for future learning and guidance. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you once again, Dr. Shahab Aziz, Dr. Gul, Erkol Bayram, and Dr. Mohammad Nawaz Tunio. And I would like to thank our audience who joined us. If you have any additional questions about information shared today, please email to us or connect with the speakers directly through their email or through their social media account. Thank you all for your support and liking our sessions. Stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. Please do not miss any session. Until next session,